in all the comedy clubs I performed at all over New York City. I performed at Stand Up New York. Anyway, I guess we're allowed to say things. Yeah, I should probably take this off. Everyone excited for Halloween coming up?
Yeah!
Does any of you still go trick-or-treating? One person. So, I was always wondering, all these kids go around asking the same question, and they always get the same answer, and they only want one answer, so why even ask the question? Well, I'll tell you why. When I was a little kid growing up, I was going trick-or-treating door to door. Knocked on this one guy's door, he answered his door. The guy was balding, in his 50s, wearing a wife beater, potato chip crumbs all over his stomach. I'm like, trick or treat. He's like, trick, I'm a pedophile, get the fuck in here. And he got me because he told me he had some candy, it was so good I can't say no. He's like, what's it called? He's like, chloroform. So I was actually going trick-or-treating last Halloween in Washington, D.C. I wasn't really, just for my routine. And I knocked on the White House door, and Obama himself answered the door. I'm like, trick or treat. He's like, trick, you can't keep your health care plan. So anyone here try online dating? Woo. So, a lot of girls are hesitant to meet a guy off an online dating site. There's a lot of creepy guys out there. So to ease their fears, I tell them a recent survey showed that 10% of all marriages in the US last year were due, at least in some parts, on online dating sites. It's like, oh, Oren, that's great, I didn't know that. I don't tell them they're also responsible for nearly 50% of all missing persons cases. They don't need to know that. If they don't call me back after the day, maybe make it 51%. So, I'm just kidding. No. So, the police have been in the news a lot recently. This is like the whitest crap ever. So, the police have been in the news a lot recently, not for good reasons. And I think we judge them too harshly. It's more misinterpretation. So I was walking in Midtown the other day. I was right outside a patrol car. And the dispatcher said over the radio, 10-4, we got a suspect wanted for blackmail. And the partner turns to his partner and he's like, blackmail suspect, got it. So, I'm sure everyone's following the news with ISIS. These guys are just so angry. I mean, the average person, I guess, would be angry if their goat broke up with them, too. I heard that another reason I got upset was there's a little misinformation. One guy, he beheaded someone and then he was killed and he thought he was getting 75 virgins and I guess he missed the paperwork or it was only 72. So heaven wasn't quite what he expected. It wasn't quite what the virgins expected either, but... So, people here been to the movies lately? Yeah. So, one thing that bothers me is, why the fuck do people clap after the movie is over? Is the director there? Like 15 years ago, I was seeing the movie, everyone remember Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
So after it's over, everyone's clapping. I turn to my friend, I'm like, why are they clapping? The director's not fucking here. And this movie was so overrated. I'm like, right? To the guy next to me? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Spielberg. Yeah, it was after the movie. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a topic everyone usually likes to talk about, that. Is it supposed to make it okay when you're about to tell someone a close relative just died to make sure they're sitting down first before you give them the news? And if you tell them to sit down first, it'll be okay with the news. Hey, David, are you sitting down? Yeah. Your brother was murdered last night. Okay. Are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sitting down. If I was standing up, it would have been pretty tragic. So thanks for the heads up. But what happens in the reverse if you forget to warn them? David, your brother was murdered last night. Fucking A, if only I was sitting down. So everyone here, I'm sure, is scared about Ebola, rightfully so. On the train, sometimes these people who are not fat, they, stretch their legs, take up 2 seats, and you try to squeeze in. I found out the best way to get more room is to just start coughing and that trip to West Africa was so much fun. Then I start pull out of my bag of like newspaper clippings about Ebola outbreak. Look, just because people are dying doesn't mean it's off limits for stand-up comedy. So, another thing that drives me crazy with the subway is when you try to get out of a stop, out of a train at a certain stop, people rush onto the train before you can get off. It's like a game, you gotta get out in time. And then when they get to the stairs leading out of the station, it looks like they're looking up at fucking Mount Everest. Like you want to help them out, give them rope, oxygen mask, gloves. But for some of these people, I know it doesn't even matter. They're so fat. They take up 2 seats on the train. Excuse me, did you swipe your Metro card twice? No, I don't think so. So get the fuck up. What was that? No, don't complain to me about the airlines wanting to start charging you for 2 seats. You get 2 meals with that as well. So, actually, last year I was coming home from my friend's house in Atlanta on vacation, and they decided to search me more in depth, which, you know, is understandable. I was wearing a yarmulke, and Jews are notorious for blowing up airplanes. And he was wearing white gloves and everything, but I felt like he was going overboard. He's putting his hand down my pants. Like, excuse me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do you work here? He laughed. No, I'm kidding. He actually said, oh shit, I think they're onto me, and he ran away. Then I'm like, oh shit, I think they're onto me. I don't even have a flight. One thing I realize when I'm flying is that if there's ever an issue on board, they say someone's sick, you know, do we have a doctor on board? They never ask for any other profession. So, in my most recent trip, we have a little situation here. So I'm actually an accountant. We have a guy who had a tax bill, he owes $100,000, and he wants to know, do we have an accountant on board? So they actually needed a doctor when I had a heart attack when they said they wanted to know if there was a spare pilot on board. So, are there any young mothers in the crowd? Well, one thing that young mothers do that bothers me is, don't you think there should be a cutoff to when they should stop saying how old their kid is in months? It gets annoying after a while. Like, oh, Jen, how are you? Your son, he got so big. How old is he? 24 months. No, he's 2, bitch. It goes in even. So, another thing that bothers me about the movies is, in the movies when they yell at the actors on screen telling them what to do. Like, no, don't go in there. So, usually it doesn't do anything, but I have been in certain movies where if they scream loud enough, it influences the actors' decisions on screen. So, which is kind of confusing when you see a movie based on true events. So I was watching the movie Titanic, and ships sailing all unsinkable and all, and they show the sailor on screen, and someone's like, look out, there's an iceberg. He's like, oh shit, you're right. The fucking kindergarten, I thought this had a different ending. So I go to a lot of stand-up comedy myself, and I noticed that a lot of the comedians, even the really good ones, unfortunately, don't really have a good way of closing their act. All right, you guys are doing great. I gotta run. Woo!